Hello everyone, my name is Andros. I'm an MBA student of ITB Indonesia. In this moment, I will describe about Indonesia crisis and currency board proposal. Let's have a flashback on Indonesia economic condition in 1997 to 1998. Indonesia had been hit by a big crisis and still fresh in our mind of the social riot that happened in that era. What did the cause of economic crisis in Indonesia? What did the condition of Indonesia in that era? Were there any option provided to help our government? Then let's talk about it. In mid-February 1998, Indonesia's President Mr. Suharto had received a letter from Michel Camdesus, Managing Director of IMF, stated if Suharto had a tendency to introduce currency board, then the IMF would cut off the funding support to Indonesia. Despite an IMF bailout plan, Indonesia had suffered a collapse in its currency. Companies could not pay their debts. Even worse was the violence that erupted in several parts of the country that caused lack of confidence in the government. On 4 February 1998, however, Stephen Hunker proposed that Indonesia should set up a currency board system that would fix the value of rupiah to the US dollar. Suharto had an inclination to apply that idea, but then came pressure from the international community, which resists Suharto's enthusiasm. And then came question from Suharto. If he wants to apply the currency board, then he will get ready to lose support from the IMF and international. And whether he follows the IMF prescripts, he should obey all the requirements from IMF. Before coming to the conclusion, let's take a look back to Suharto regime. In 1974, sharp jump in oil prices had made a positive impact to Indonesia. Rupiah raised up to 625 rupiah to US dollar. In 1980s, Indonesia economy grew at an annual rate of 9% and 7.9% from 1990 to 1996. Per capita GDP reached 1,000 US dollar compared to 70 US dollar when Suharto took his first place as president. Total GDP reached 227 billion US dollar in 1996, and employment was low as well as the inflation. The currency was stable and government financial looked solid. The World Bank predicted that Indonesia would become the fifth largest economy in the world by 2020. Impressive, right? Many Indonesian companies had borrowed in foreign currencies, mainly in US dollar and Japanese yen. Totally, foreign debt rose sharply to almost 80 billion US dollar, and at the year 1997 still made a rapid expansion. Then came the Asian financial crisis. Let's focus on Southeast Asia crisis. It was dated when Thai baht floated on July 1997, which almost 25 years Thailand fixed the currency to the US dollar. And Indonesia government took the defense step to protect rupiah. On July, the central bank widening the band to positive negative 6%, spending 1 billion US dollar to defend currency, interest rate raised up, and many more. Raise up the interest rate had made the local companies borrow money in foreign currencies. Many large projects have been suspended, and government increased sales tax on luxury items, while the rupiah currencies weakened. Then the private debt in foreign currencies will become higher. On October 1997, rupiah down about 60%, become 3,845 rupiah. Local banking system reverts of collapse. Indonesian companies defaulting on their loans. Suharto agreed to borrow money from IMF, World Bank Asia, and the Asian Development Bank. On 31 October 1997, the amount was 23 billion US dollar, though such a big amount of money. And with all the requirements by IMF, they should be fulfilled by the government. The requirements were restructuring the financial sector, include closing the non-viable institution, enhance economic efficiency and transparency, including liberalization of foreign trade, tight money policy, and fiscal tightening. Then get through to the January 1998. Indonesia once again implemented the mandate from IMF. And again, IMF bailed out the package for about 43 billion US dollar. And again, it did cost things. Suharto had to follow all the requirements. But the tension between Suharto and IMF increased. IMF requirement would break down the monopoly in Indonesia. And as we know that Suharto family cultivate many industries in Indonesia, other governments should cut off the subsidies. increase the taxes, and free the market from government intervention. And can be guessed what will be next. Riot everywhere, prices increase, and confidence of international investment collapse. That sending rupiah to 10,000 rupiah to US dollar on 8 January. Because of those concerns, including the requirement, Suharto had a tendency to not follow IMF. Then there were a pressure from US and Japan. Bill Clinton made a private call to Suharto that want to ensure that Indonesia should follow all the requirements, as well as the Minister of Japan, Hashimoto. But on January 15, President Suharto had made an agreement to totally follow all the requirements. And we know that on 18 January 1998, President Suharto fell down, replaced by Habibie. And what the currency board is? The currency board, which proposed by Professor Hanke, would set a fixed exchange rate. He made it successful in Argentina, Estonia, and Lithuania. Interesting, right? But implementing currency board, there would be a chance that will raise up the interest rate. Actually, on 9 February, Suharto announced that government intend to adopt currency board to fix exchange rate. Many speculations state that Suharto intend to apply currency board just to want secure his companies. But after the announcement, Suharto get pressure from international. They said by applying the currency board, Indonesia can turn into a big failure. That's why IMF resists those ideas. What a dilemma. Which one could be applied? IMF or currency board? What would be the pros and cons? Will be explained by my partner Erwin. That's all from me, and may God bless Indonesia.